Sanji No Go, Karma in 3 times, by Eihei Dogen, from Shobogenzo, the treasury of the true Dharma Eye. The 19th Patriarch, the Venerable Kumara Labda, arrives at a country in central India where her Mahasattva called Gayatri asks, "In my family, father and mother have always believed in the 3 treasures, yet they have been beset by ill health, and in general are disappointed in all their undertakings. My neighbour's family has long done the work of Kandalas, yet their bodies are always in sound health, and their doings harmoniously combine. What is their good fortune, and what is our guilt?" The Venerable One says, "How could there be room for doubt? In short, retribution for good and bad has 3 times. Generally, people only see that to the good comes early death, to the violent long life, to the evil fortune, and to the righteous calamity, whereupon people say that there is no cause and effect, and no wrongness or happiness. Particularly, they do not know that shadow and sound accord with their sources, not differing by 1,000th or 100th, and even with the passing of 100,000 myriad kalpas, never wearing away." Then Gayatri, having heard these words, at once relinquishes doubt. The Venerable Kumara Labda is, from the Tathagata, the 19th recipient of the Dharma. The Tathagata personally recorded his name. Kumara Labda not only clarified and authentically received the Dharma of the one Buddha, Shakyamuni, he also clearly realized the Dharma of all the Buddhas of the 3 ages. The Venerable Gayatri, after asking the present question, practiced and learned the Tathagata's right Dharma, following the Venerable Kumara Labda, and eventually became the 20th ancestral master. In this case also, the world-honoured one from afar had recorded that the 20th Patriarch would be Gayatri. That being so, above all, we should learn the criteria of the Buddha Dharma as thus decided by the ancestral masters. We should not mix with people of false views in the world today, who neither know cause and effect, nor understand karmic retribution, nor know the 3 ages, nor distinguish between good and bad. These words, retribution for good and bad has 3 times, mean: 1. Retribution is received in the immediate present. 2. It is received in one's next life. 3. It is received latterly. These are called the 3 times. In practicing and learning the truth of the Buddhist patriarchs, from the very beginning, we study and clarify this principle of karmic retribution in 3 times. Because they are not like that, many make mistakes and fall into the false view. Not only do they fall into the false view, they also fall into bad states and experience long periods of suffering. While they are failing to continue good routes, they lose much merit, and the way to Bodhi is long obstructed. Is it not regrettable? This karma in the 3 times covers both good and bad. 1. Karma in which retribution is received in the immediate present. If, in this life, we produce and promote karma, and in this life we receive differently matured effects, this is called karma in which retribution is received in the immediate present. That is to say, a person doing in this life either good or bad, and then receiving in this life the corresponding retribution, is called karma in which retribution is received in the immediate present. An example of doing bad and receiving in this life bad retribution. Once there was a woodcutter who went into the mountains and lost his way in the snow. The time was approaching dusk. The snow was deep and the cold was freezing. The woodcutter would be dead before long. Then he advanced into a dense wood, whereupon he saw, already there in the wood, a bear whose body colour was deep blue and whose eyes were like 2 torches. The man was scared half to death. But this was really a bodhisattva who had for the present received a bear's body. Seeing the woodcutter's distress and fear, the bear soothed and admonished him, saying, "Now, you must not be afraid. A father and mother sometimes are treacherous to a child, but now I am completely without ill will towards you." Then it stepped forward, lifted up the woodcutter, and carried him into a cave to warm his body. After letting him recuperate, it picked various roots and fruits, and encouraged him to eat what he liked, and afraid lest the woodcutter's coldness would not thaw, it hugged and lay with him. It thus tenderly nursed him for 6 days, until, on the 7th day, the weather cleared and the path became visible. The man had the will to return. The bear, having recognized this already, again picked sweet fruits and served these to the man until he was satisfied. it escorted him out of the woods and politely bade him farewell. The man dropped to his knees and said in thanks, "How can I repay your kindness?" The bear said, "Now, I want no other reward. I only hope that just as in recent days I have protected your body, you would act likewise towards my life." The man respectfully assented, and carrying his wood, he descended the mountain. He met 2 hunters who asked him, "What kinds of creatures have you seen in the mountains?" The woodcutter replied, "I have not seen any other beast at all. I have only seen one bear." The hunters begged him, "Can you show us or not?" The woodcutter answered, "If you can give me a share of 2/3, I will show you." The hunters thereupon agreed, and together they set off. At length they slew the bear and divided its flesh into 3. As the woodcutter, with both hands, went to take the bear meat, through the force of his bad karma, both arms dropped off, like pearls on a string that is cut, or like chopped lotus roots. The hunters were alarmed by this, and in astonishment they asked the reason for it. The woodcutter, ashamed, related the plot in detail. These 2 hunters berated the woodcutter, saying, "The other already had for you this great benevolence. How could you have carried out now such evil treachery? It is a wonder that your body has not rotted." At this, the woodcutter and the hunters together took the meat to donate to a Sangharama. Then an elder among the monks, who had got the fine wisdom to know others' wishes, immediately entered into the immovable state of Zazen, and reflected what kind of meat this was. Thereupon he knew that this was the flesh of a great bodhisattva who had produced benefit and joy for all living beings. At length he left non-movement and told the monks of this matter. The monks were shocked to hear it. Together they gathered fragrant firewood to cremate the flesh, collected the remaining bones, erected a stupa, performed prostrations, and served offerings. Bad karma like this must, whether it waits for continuance or skips continuance, inevitably suffer its effect. Such is called karma in which retribution for bad conduct is received in the immediate present. As a general rule, when we receive kindness, we should intend to repay it. In being kind to others, however, do not seek reward. One who would bring treachery and harm upon a kind person, as in the present story, will inevitably suffer the corresponding bad karma. May living beings never have the mind of this woodcutter. Out of the woods, when bidding the bear farewell, he says, "How can I repay this kindness?" Yet, at the foot of the mountain, when he meets the hunters, he greedily seeks 2/3 of the meat, and, led by avarice, he slays that which showed him great kindness. May lay people and those who have left home never have this mind that does not know kindness. Cutting by the force of bad karma, when it severs both hands, is faster than the cutting of a sword. An example of doing good in this life, and with retribution being received in the immediate present, getting a good reward. Once upon a time, King Kaniska of the country of Gandhara retained an androgyne who always supervised internal court affairs. On a temporary excursion beyond the city walls, he saw a herd of bulls, fully 500 in number, being led into the city. He asked the herder, "What kind of bulls are these?" The herder replied, "These bulls are going to be castrated." This the androgyne immediately thought to himself, "I, through long-held karma, have received an emasculate body. Now I shall use my wealth to rescue these bulls from that hardship." Eventually, he paid their price and had them all set free. Through the force of good karma, this androgyne was caused at once to recover a male body. He profoundly rejoiced. Then he went back into the city, and standing still at the palace gate, he sent a messenger to inform the king that he wished to enter for an audience. The king summoned him to enter and asked in wonder for an explanation. Thereupon, the androgyne related the aforementioned episode in detail. The king, on hearing of it, was surprised and delighted. He generously bestowed precious treasures, promoted the androgyne to high office, and put him in charge of external affairs. Good karma like this must, whether it waits for continuance or skips continuance, inevitably receive its effect. Clearly, though the bodies of bulls and animals are not to be treasured, a person who saves them will receive good effects. How much more, by honouring the field of the kind and honouring the field of the virtuous, will we enact many kinds of good. Such is called karma, in which reward for good conduct is received in the immediate present. There are many episodes like these, arising from good and from bad, but there is not time to quote them all. 2. Karma that receives retribution in the next life. If, in this life, we produce and promote karma, and in a second life we receive differently matured effects, this is called karma that receives retribution in the next life. That is to say, if people have committed in this life the 5 actions leading to incessant hell, they will inevitably fall into hell in their next life. The next life means the life following this life. For lesser sins, there are those who fall into hell in their next life, and there are also those who, because they have deserved the influence of latterly received karma, do not fall into hell in the next life. Their karma becomes karma of latter retribution. But for these 5 actions leading to incessant hell, we invariably fall into hell with karma that receives retribution in the next life. The next life is also called a second life. The 5 actions leading to incessant hell are 1. To kill one's father. 2. To kill one's mother. 3. To kill an arhat. 4. To cause the Buddha's body to bleed. And 5. To disrupt the Sangha of the Dharma wheel. These are called the 5 actions leading to incessant hell, and also called the 5 deadly sins. The first 3 are killing, and the 4th is conduct which applies to killing. There is no way for the Tathagata to be killed by a person. Only to cause his body to bleed is considered a deadly sin. Those who are not subject to early death are bodhisattvas in their last body, bodhisattvas obstructed by one life into Shita heaven, the angels of the northern continent, Jayutiska, and the Buddha's doctor. Number 5. The sin of disrupting the Sangha is false and deceitful words. For these 5 deadly sins inevitably, with karma that receives retribution in the next life, we fall into hell. Devadatta committed 3 of these 5 actions leading to incessant hell. That is to say, he killed the bikini Utpalavana, and this bikini was a great arhat. This is seen as his killing of an arhat. He attempted to kill the world-honoured one by hurling a great boulder. The boulder was then blocked and shattered by a mountain god, but a splinter flew off and struck the Tathagata's toes. The toes were broken, and blood naturally bled. This was the sin of causing the Buddha's body to bleed. Devadatta exhorted 500 novices and foolish bhikkhus to go with him to the peak of Mount Gaya, where he established separate practices. This was the sin of disrupting the Sangha. As a result of these 3 deadly sins, he fell into Avicii hell. Today he is suffering incessant pain. Even Devadatta, who was formerly like the 4 Buddhas, remains in Avicii. The bhikshu, Kokalika, in order to slander Shariputra and Maudgalyana in this life, groundlessly invoked the Parajika rule. The world-honored one himself cautioned against it, and King Brahma came down to prevent it. But Kokalika did not stop. He slandered the 2 venerable ones and fell into hell. When the bhikkhu who mistook the 4th dhyana confronted the end of his life, he fell into Avicii hell as a result of slandering the Buddha. Such is called karma that receives retribution in the next life. 3. Karma that receives retribution latterly. If, in this life, we produce and promote karma, and consequently, in a 3rd life, or even 100,000s of kalpas beyond that, we receive differently matured effects. This is called karma that receives retribution latterly. That is to say, if people, having committed in this life either good or bad, feel the effect of good or bad karma in a 3rd life, or in a 4th life, or even after 100,000s of lives, this is called karma that receives retribution latterly. Most of a bodhisattva's 3 asankhya kalpas of virtue is karma that receives retribution latterly. Without knowing such truths as this, practitioners often harbour doubt, as the Venerable Gayatha does when he is a layman in the present story. If he had not met the Venerable Kumara Labdha, it might have been difficult for him to resolve that doubt. When a practitioner's consideration is good, bad immediately ceases. When consideration is bad, good instantly ceases. In the country of Shravasti, once upon a time there lived 2 people, one who always practiced good, and another who always committed bad. The one who practiced good deeds had always practiced good deeds throughout his life, and had never committed bad. The one who committed bad deeds had constantly committed bad deeds throughout his life, and had never practiced good. When the one who practiced good deeds came to the end of his life, through the influence of bad karma that receives retribution latterly, a middle existence in hell suddenly appeared before him. Then he thought, throughout my life I have always practiced good deeds and have never committed bad. I should be born in a heaven realm. What reason is there for this middle existence to appear before me? Eventually, the following thought arose: I surely must have bad karma, which is receiving retribution latterly. Because bad karma is now maturing, this middle existence in hell has appeared before me. Then he remembered the good actions he had practiced through his life, and he profoundly rejoiced. Because of his manifestation of this excellent consideration, the middle existence in hell disappeared at once, and a middle existence in a heaven realm suddenly appeared before him. After this, when his life ended, he was born in the heavens above. This person, who has always practiced good deeds, not only considers karma, which latterly receives retribution, is present in my own body, which must inevitably suffer retribution. He also considers further, for the good I have practiced throughout my life, also I will surely receive retribution in future. This is the reason that he profoundly rejoices. Because this notion is true, the middle existence in hell immediately disappears. A middle existence in a heaven realm suddenly appears before him, and when his life is over, he is born in the heavens above. If this person were a bad person, when his life ended and a middle existence in hell appeared before him, he would think, my practice of good throughout my life has been without merit. If good and bad exist, how could I be looking at a middle existence in hell? At this time, he would negate cause and effect and slander the three treasures. If he were like that, his life would end at once, and he would fall into hell. Because he is not like that, he is born in the heavens above. We should clarify and know this truth. When the one who committed bad deeds came to the end of his life, through the influence of good karma that latterly receives retribution, a middle existence in a heaven realm suddenly appeared before him. Then he thought, throughout my life I have constantly committed bad deeds and have never practiced good. I deserve to be born in hell. What reason is there for this middle existence to appear before me? At length the false view arose. He negated good and bad, and different maturation of effects. Through the influence of the false view, the middle existence in a heaven realm disappeared at once, and a middle existence in hell suddenly appeared before him. After this, when his life ended, he was born in hell. This person, as long as he has lived, has constantly committed bad and has never practiced a single act of good. Not only that, when his life ends and he sees a middle existence in a heaven realm appear before him, he does not recognize it as karma that latterly receives retribution, and so he thinks, all my life I have committed bad, but I am going to be born in a heaven realm. Clearly, there was no good and bad at all. Through the influence of the false view, which negates good and bad like this, the middle existence in a heaven realm suddenly vanishes. A middle existence in hell instantly appears before him, and when his life is over, he falls into hell. Thus, it was because of the false view that the middle existence in a heaven realm disappeared. Therefore, practitioners, you must never take the false view. Learn until you use up your body. What is the false view, and what is the right view? To begin with, negation of cause and effect, slandering of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and negation of the three ages and of liberation are all the false view. Remember, our body in this life is not two and not three. If we idly fell into the false view and experienced to no avail the effects of bad karma, would that not be regrettable? When, while committing bad, we think that it is not bad, just because we wrongly consider that there will be no bad retribution, this does not mean that we will not experience the bad retribution. Court priest Kogetsu asks Master Chosa Keishin. A past master has said, after we have understood, karmic hindrances are originally void. Before we have understood, we must atone for long-held debts. How is it possible that one such as the Venerable Simha and the Great Master, the Second Patriarch, atone for their debts so completely? Chosa says, Virtuous one, you do not know the original void. The other says, what is the original void? Chosa says, karmic hindrances themselves. Kogetsu asks again, what are karmic hindrances? Chosa says, the original void itself. Kogetsu is wordless. Chosa then teaches him with the following verse. Supposed existence is fundamentally different from existence. Termination of the supposed also is different from non-existence. The meaning of nirvana is atonement, is that the one essential state is utterly without discrimination. Chosa's answer is no answer. It does not possess the truth that Kumara Labda teaches to Gayatri. We should recognize that Master Chosa does not know the principle of karmic hindrances. When descendants of Buddhist patriarchs pursue the truth through practice and experience, they must unfailingly clarify and know, in the manner of the Venerable Kumara Labda, this karma in 3 times. This effort is already the action of the ancestral patriarchs. We should not cease or neglect it. Besides this karma in 3 times, there is indefinite karma, and there are also 8 kinds of karma. We should broadly learn them in practice. People who have not clarified this truth of karmic retribution must not randomly call themselves the guiding teachers of human beings and gods. We will inevitably experience retribution in 3 times for bad karma, but if we confess and repent, that will transform a heavy sin and cause retribution to be received lightly. It will also end our wrongdoing and make us pure. Further, if we take delight in good karma, that will promote good karma more and more. Everything depends on whether the making of karma is black or white. The world-honored one said, even with the passing of hundreds of kalpas, the karma that we make does not perish. When causes and conditions come together, effects and results are naturally received. You should all know, if your actions are purely black, you will experience the maturation of purely black effects. If your actions are purely white, you will experience the maturation of purely white effects. If your actions are black and white, you will experience corresponding maturation of miscellaneous effects. For this reason, you should abandon actions that are purely black and that are a mixture of black and white. You should be diligent in practicing and learning actions which are purely white. Then, all in the great assembly, having heard the Buddha's preaching, rejoiced and believed. Finished copying this in the head monk's quarters at Eiheiji Temple on the 9th day of the 3rd lunar month in the 5th year of Kencho, Eijo.